I just needed to put on my glasses so I could see where I'm sitting and if I'm in focus and everything. We're good. What is up, everyone? It's Emma, and today I'm going to be filming one of my absolute favorite videos to film. This is going to be a story time video. I just find it so much fun to tell you guys all about the crazy things that happen in my life. Mind you, there aren't very many crazy things that happen to me, so when something does happen, I just have to make a video about it. I thought this video would be so much more fun and authentic if I made a little cup of tea. And feel free to pause this video and go make a cup of tea or coffee or whatever you want, and then we can both sit down with our cups of tea and I can like tell you a story, like a little tea time session, you know? So this is going to be about the time I was stranded alone in Denver because of a canceled flight. Alone. Like, I have no family in Denver. And this is like my worst nightmare, and it happened to me. Of course. So as some of you may know, I have grandparents that live in Texas, and every summer I go out to visit them. So after I got back from my road trip, I had like a free week and a half before my friend Kelsey from New York comes, and I was like, that's a perfect time to fit in a trip to Texas. My mom wanted me to go like more at the end of July, but I was like, you know what, I would just like to like relax the rest of the summer. I just like to get all my traveling done. So I flew out June 28th, yes, June 28th to Texas, but there are no direct flights to the city where my grandparents live because it's a smaller city. So I always have to take a connecting plane through either Denver or Dallas or Houston. So when my mom and I were booking this flight, she found one on American Airlines that goes through Dallas. However, I am not as familiar with Dallas or Houston as I am with Denver, so I was like, you know what, no, like I really would just rather go through Denver. I'm familiar with that airport, I can navigate through it, and there will be like no problems. Or so I thought. So anyway, we spent like an extra 30 minutes online trying to find a flight that went through Denver, and then we found one for United, and it was a little bit more, I think, but I thought it was worth it, so we went ahead and booked that flight. So the first leg of my trip is from Orange County to Denver. So that whole flight went fine, it was on time, it was on schedule. We actually came into Denver early, and it was supposed to be like a 3-hour layover. So being the responsible person that I am, I downloaded the United app so that I would be updated whenever there was a gate change, because I don't want to go have to check the monitor like every 5 minutes. I was just watching Criminal Minds and I didn't want to have to deal with that. And so the gate kept being changed. Like at first it was at like the south end of the airport, and then they kept updating it and it was like moving to gates that were like further north. And so I had to keep getting up and moving, and I was really tired. And then gradually the flight started to get delayed. It would first be like 11 minutes, and then it was like an hour, and I was like calling my grandma and updating her and saying, you know, I'm gonna be like a little bit later. I was originally supposed to arrive in Texas at like 10:20 p.m. or something like that, but as the flight kept getting delayed, it was like 11 p.m. and then it was 12:30 a.m. and then it was 1 a.m. and I was like getting really scared that this flight was gonna be canceled. And the reason it kept getting delayed was because the inbound flight was having some like weather issues. It started to rain there, and I was getting this really bad feeling. There was thunder and lightning, and I was like, oh, this is not good. And it's not so much that I didn't want to deal with a canceled flight, it's that this was my connecting flight and I have nobody in Denver. So I was kind of freaking out, like what's gonna happen if this flight is canceled and I'm left alone in Denver. Anyway, the gate keeps changing, the flight keeps getting delayed, and I'm just moving as the gate moves. And then I start noticing that there's like this group of people that's moving at the same time as me, so I guess that they're on the same flight as me. So I start making conversation with them just because I want to know like I'm not alone and that I'm not the only one in this situation. So we're all talking like, oh my gosh, like the flight keeps getting delayed, this is really annoying. And then I would tell them whenever the gate changed. So after a few gate changes, I finally settled in, and I sat next to these two ladies who are actually very important to this story. Their names are Margaret and Jane. Margaret said she wanted a cup of coffee. By this time it was like 10 p.m. and I was like, oh, I'll just go with you. Like I know a coffee shop over at this end of the airport. I can just go with you. Like it's not like I have anywhere to be. So we started like talking, and I was telling her like about what I'm doing in school and blah blah blah, and we just like kind of like hit it off. And I immediately felt better because I was like, you know, if something happens, I have these nice ladies. And my mom back in California was getting really worried because the flight kept getting delayed, but she's like, don't worry, it's not going to be canceled because they want to get all of the flights out tonight so that they don't have to worry about them in the morning. So I was like, you know what, she's right. I'm Emma, I worry about everything. I just need to like take a step back and breathe. And then a few minutes later, they make an announcement. Let's just call this flight 402. So they make an announcement, and I hear flight 402, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's my flight. They have an update. We're gonna get out of here. Flight 402 has been canceled. I was like, what now? The flight has been canceled? I was so tired and groggy. I just wanted to get to Texas, and then they said the flight has been canceled. And we all looked at each other and we're like, oh my gosh. Like they're gonna make it right, we're gonna go sleep in some hotel nearby and get on like the next flight. So we go and wait in this huge customer service or whatever, because I kid you not, half of the flights at that airport have been canceled because the weather was so bad. So if you were to look at the monitor and see like all the departures, it was like every other one canceled, canceled, canceled. It was crazy. People were lined up at customer service on the phone complaining. Everyone was just in a really bad mood. So we go to the customer service line, and I just decided to stay with Margaret and Jane. They were like, oh, you stay with us, Emma, we got you. And I was feeling really good because, you know, I'm 16, I'm a minor. I can't like get a hotel by myself, right? So we're standing in line, and they come out and they're passing out these cards, and they're like, call this number. They're gonna try to get you on the next flight. So Margaret calls, and she said there's 3 of us, and she wants to get us out on the next flight to Texas. And so I hear her on the phone, and the next flight out is at 10:30 a.m. the next day, but it goes through Dallas before we get to our final destination. And at this time I was like, oh my gosh, Emma, you should have just gone through Dallas. What is wrong with you? You would have been there by now. So I ended up having to go through Dallas anyway in the end. So I ended up having 3 flights before I got to my final destination. After we confirmed that we were on that flight out, they were coming around and saying, sorry, all the hotels in Denver are full, you're gonna have to sleep at the airport. So now it's like 11 or 12 and I'm super thirsty, I can't sleep, so I decide to go find somewhere where I can get a bottle of water. But literally everywhere in the airport is closed. Like there's a ton of people at the airport, but all the stores are closed, except for McDonald's. And literally this McDonald's, you guys, was crazy packed, and all I wanted was a cup of water, and the people working it were like really moody. They were tired too, like not that that's an excuse to be really rude, because there's this one lady that was working there and she's like yelling at people. She's like, order 45, like your order's ready, come and get it now. And like when nobody came to get their order because it was so busy and they couldn't hear it, she was like throwing it like behind her in the kitchen, like she had enough. So I waited like an hour in this line just to get 2 bottles of water. So I drank my water, and then we decided to move like near the airport window. I have some footage of me trying to sleep here. I did not bring any long pants. I just had shorts and a jacket. Like I had a jacket to keep me warm. That was it. Because Texas weather is hot, and I didn't think I would need any pants of any kind. But you know, you should always come prepared. I know that for next time. So my pillow was my backpack, and my backpack had my computer in it, so it was extremely hard to sleep on. The airport was freezing cold. I was getting the shivers, and I was so cold that I couldn't fall asleep. We're laying on the ground. Margaret, Jane, and I are all on the floor sleeping on whatever little contraption we made out of our stuff. And then I wake up about like 4 a.m. or something, and I decided to go see if anything was open, if I could find like a pillow or a blanket to sleep on. So I went to the store, and they didn't have any blankets, which is what I really wanted because I was freezing cold, but they did have a pillow, and it was like just a really small pink pillow, and it was like $20 or something, but it was so much better than sleeping on my backpack. Then morning comes like 5 or 6 a.m. and Jane and I decide we want some coffee, so we go over to Dunkin' Donuts, and we wait in that super long line because like I said, everything was completely busy just because they had like all the people from the night before still there. So we got our coffee, and then I saw another store that was open, and I got a blanket, and oh my gosh, guys, I was like so blessed. Like it was the best feeling ever. Like I have never appreciated a blanket so much in my whole life. Finally, they make an announcement that they're boarding the flight to Dallas, so we all get on the flight to Dallas. We're all in different seats. Then we got to Dallas, we had a pretty short layover, and then we were finally on our way. And then we finally got there at like 4:30 p.m. the next day, so almost 24 hours late. The moral of the story is, even if you think something won't happen to you, you can never be too sure. But you know what? I'm actually glad this happened because I think this is a fun story to look back on, and also I made some new friends. Like I met some really cool people, and they're so nice, and we're friends on Facebook now, and like we text, we're like so cool now. I hope you guys found this kind of amusing, and hopefully you guys never have to experience the same thing. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!